Welcome to the Raising Sons podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Rochelle Whitaker, but you can call me Dr. Shell. I'm a parenting advisor, educational psychologist, licensed maternal mental health therapist, and mom. On this podcast, we'll cover everything you need to know about raising sons. Now, let's get into the show. Hey, it's another episode of the Raising Sons podcast. And today we're talking about how to develop creativity in your children. So this is an exciting topic for me because both of my sons, well, one of my sons for sure is an artist. The other son, I really don't know, but he does have some artistic ability. I would like to think that I have done something to develop that, but I'm not sure that I have. But I do have some suggestions on what I have done and maybe what you can do to help to develop that creativity in your children. So let's talk about what is creativity. Creativity is the use of the imagination or original ideas. And usually you don't have to do much when your kids are young, right? They're watching cartoons, they're imitating the cartoon characters, or they're making sounds with the trucks or the cars, or they're making animal sounds. And so they're imitating what they see, but they're also generally expanding on that. So they may, start off with the car or the truck making noises, and then they may start having the car and the truck do all of these super things, meaning flip over or run into the other car. So that's an extension of their imagination, having the cars hit each other or making them do something other than just making the sounds. So when you think about developing that creativity, like I said, when they're young, you don't have to do that much. As they get older, there are some things that you'll want to do. Well, I believe you start from the beginning. So where is it that you want your child to grow up to become? What is it that you want him to grow up to become? So you start at the end from the beginning. And so what does that mean? That means exposing them to different things, taking them to museums, taking them to, water parks, exploring nature, play dates even, having them play with other kids, draws on their creativity and their imagination. But exposure is key, meaning exposing them to different things, different people, different places, plays. And of course, all of these things are age appropriate, right? So we're not going to take our 2 or 3-year-old to a play at the theater that is, something dealing with the symphony. But we may take them to a play at the theater that's around their favorite cartoon character. So when my sons were young, I would take them to Sesame Street to see the Sesame Street characters in the theater. Or we went to see Paw Patrol in the theater. So it's exposing them from when they're young to all of these different things, but they're centered around the things they're interested in, right? Because a 2-year-old or 3-year-old sitting in a symphony or a ballet, that's going to be more of a headache for you as a parent than it is for them. So we want to do things that are centered around them, centered around their likes and their dislikes, really. We want to follow their lead. So if you see your son or your child into coloring and drawing, doing more of that, exposing them to different kinds of colors, exposing them to different kinds of drawings, maybe adding painting on. And so all of those things help to further that creativity and help to develop it and encouraging them. So when you see them drawing pictures and painting and they're excited about it, giving them praise. And so that way they feel accomplished and they want to continue doing it, right? Because they're like, oh, my mom loves my drawing or she loves my painting. So they'll want to do more of it. And so that helps them to explore. It helps them to develop more of their creativity. So again, you want to pay attention to the things that they're interested in and then follow their lead. So, doing more of those things. So my oldest son was really into Lego. And to some degree, he's still into Legos, even though he's older. So what we did was, he would say he wanted different kind of Lego sets. And we would buy those sets, but then we would also challenge him and we would go maybe to the next age level. And so now he's putting together these Lego sets of like the White House. And of course, now these are much older Lego sets, but we've kind of fostered that. He liked it. We followed his lead. And so, now he's wanting to build other Lego sets. And what that has turned into is a love for design and architecture. So now he's saying that he wants to be an architect. He also liked art, right? I said both of my sons are into art. And so my older son really, probably because he's older, we can really see his artistic creativity developing. And so, we're pushing him in that direction. When I say pushing him, really encouraging him. to really, broaden that artistic area that he likes. And so now he's in a art class that is teaching him different perspectives and different techniques about art. And so that's what I mean when I say, nurture and encourage your child. So find maybe an art class. It can be an art class at your local library, something that kind of helps them to grow in the area that they're already showing interest in terms of creativity and development. So something else that you can do is, like I was saying, you want to nurture the things that they are showing interest in and exposing them to different ways of doing something. So, for instance, my son loved coloring. And so our church had a coloring contest. And so he entered into the coloring contest and he ended up winning. Just encouraging them by doing little things. Now, I didn't know anything about it, right? He was in children's church and it was just something that they did. And I don't think I found out about it until I saw his name in the newsletter for children's church. But just, those kinds of things that help to foster their creativity, help to really encourage their creativity and helping them to develop and do more of it. So it's really like noticing something in your child, noticing that they like to do something, and then just expanding on that in terms of encouraging them for one, but also finding different avenues and ways to broaden that scope. Because the truth of the matter is they could start off liking to draw and color, and then it could go flat, right? But unless you expose them to different things and go down different avenues with them, you won't know. If you see where they are, you follow their lead, you see that they like this thing, and then you start kind of helping to direct it, meaning maybe you take an art class, like I was saying, at the library, or you get them involved in a theater program, maybe for the summer. That can really help to develop, to bring that artistic, creative genius out of them. I want to take a moment to tell you guys about the Raising Fearless Sons Challenge. Recently, my son and I had a discussion about him wanting to face his fears and to be more brave. So he came up with a list of things that he wanted to do to help him face those fears. One of those things was something like climbing a rock wall. So he has a fear of heights. And so he made a list of things that he wanted to do over the summer to face his fears. And not only did he want to do this for himself, he then also inspired me to participate in this challenge. And so I'm a big fan of practicing what I preach. And so we've been, facing our fears together. And so wanted to include you all in this challenge. And so if you want to join the challenge, follow these simple instructions. Share a fearless moment that either you or your son embraced on Instagram and use hashtag Raising Sons. The winner will receive a copy of the Raising Sons manual. I can't wait to see your post. Like I was saying, you start from the beginning. So you see it, maybe they're like 3 or 4 and you start noticing it. And then like as they get older, then you start putting them in maybe like summer programs where they're highlighting theater or art or dance or whatever the thing is, this creative artistic side of them. And then so as they, you find out if this is something they really like, if they really have some talent for this, and you just continue to nurture it until either they say you don't want to do it anymore or you don't really see it taking off. Maybe they're starting to lose interest, or maybe what you thought wasn't there. And so then you just kind of redirect them to something else. But when we talk about developing creativity in children, I think it's really important that you, one, expose them to different things. They start to have an idea of what they do and they don't like, and so that they can know. Because oftentimes, things can lie dormant if we don't expose them, if they don't have any knowledge of it. And if they don't have any frame of reference, then they don't know that it's there. So I would say make sure that you follow their lead, encourage them, and expose them to any and everything. And you can start young, right? I was saying I took my sons to Sesame Street. We went to Paw Patrol at the theater, Disney on Ice. So, those are some things. If you have a children's museum in your area, taking them there, even as babies, because you can begin to see the kinds of things that they like. I really like the Tyler area of the Children's Museum in the city where I live, because there's so many different things that the kids can do and explore. No 2 kids are the same. So what my older son was interested in and spent more time on, my younger son had no interest in, and they're still very different to this day. Maybe the thing too is if you have multiple children, following their lead and helping to see what it is that they like, and not always assuming that because your older child they too will like it and steering them in the same direction, but giving them the space and the freedom to pursue different things that they like. For parents, I know you may be asking yourselves, well, my child is not interested in anything creative. All they want to do is spend time on their phone. And so I do understand that. And so one of the things that I would suggest that you do that they're not going to like is to take their phone and drag them out to different things. And drag might not be the best word, but take them to different things that you think that they might have some interest in, even if they're not showing any interest in. I can remember when I was middle school or high school, my mom, her big thing was exposing me to things, whether or not I liked them or not. And so we went to the symphony, the opera. She took me to the opera and I did not want to go. I was like, this is not going to be interesting at all. And it wasn't. But in hindsight, as I became an adult, and I was thankful for having the opportunity because that came up in different aspects of just growing up and being in different environments. And so because I had that opportunity, I could join in on some of these conversations that people didn't think that I had because I looked like I looked, or because not many children have been to the opera. I know that it can be difficult to get your child away from their phones, but I would say have them take a break from the phone, take their phone, and then just have them come with you to different events that you think would benefit them in the long run. So maybe those are different plays. And the plays can be lively enough that they're not going to bore them to death, but they could be, not something that they would ordinarily choose for themselves, or choosing different events that are at your local theater, at your local park, maybe, choosing an art show that you think might have some component to it that they may be interested in, or maybe their favorite artist, if they have a favorite artist and the art show is doing different aspects of that artist's life. So just finding different things that you think that might be of interest to them, even if they're saying, I don't want to do that. And so, helping them to be exposed to different things that they're telling you that they're not interested in. And something else that you can also do that maybe help them want to do it is to have them bring a friend with them, or do it in a group of other parents so that they don't feel like, oh, I got to hang out with my mom. Like, this is going to be boring. I don't really want to do this. I'd rather be with, as kids get middle school, high school, they're less likely to want to hang out with their parents and more likely to want to hang out with their friends. So maybe making it a group event with their friends would make it more enjoyable and less resistant for them. So that's another way that you can help to develop the creativity. Either two things could happen. You didn't see any interest when they were young, or maybe nothing came about when they were young, and you want to start to do different things as they get older. And they're just like, I don't want to do that. I want to be on my phone, or one interest that they had, they're no longer interested in. And so it's really about, I think, exposing them to different things, and maybe, like I said, including other friends in that so that they're less resistant to coming with you. So that's something else with technology. Lots of things have changed for our kids and their interests. Oh, I was thinking about one more thing that you could do. So they like to be on their phone. What you could also do is take them to, if they're into like gaming, or depending on what they're on their phone, there are different like conferences and things that they can do. So like Minecraft has things that they can compete in. They have competitions. Roblox, I think, has the same thing. They have different competitions and conferences. So if they're into those kinds of things, and that takes creativity. So making it a point to go to those conferences or having them be involved in those type of competitions are also, another way to help them to develop their creativity in doing something that they already like. So that's also another idea. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining in on another episode of the Raising Sons podcast. Please share, subscribe, and like. And until next time.